Late one evening, a humble taxi driver rushed into the city hospital emergency room, gently carrying an unconscious woman in his arms. Two small, frightened children walked beside him, their clothes torn and faces full of fear. They all looked desperately poor. The doctor examined her quickly and said with urgency, "This woman has suffered a severe heart attack. If we don't start treatment immediately, she will not survive. The cost for urgent care is quite high." The moment the children heard those words, they burst into tears. The taxi driver stood there helplessly, looking from the doctor to the woman and then to the crying kids. The doctor asked gently, "Sir, is she your wife or a relative?" The man shook his head and replied softly, "No, doctor. I don't know who she is. I'm just a taxi driver. I saw her lying unconscious on the roadside. These two little ones were sitting next to her, crying. I couldn't just drive away, so I brought her here. This is all the money I have right now." He emptied his pocket and placed a small bundle of notes on the table. The doctor looked at the money with a sad smile and said, "I'm sorry, sir. This is nowhere near enough." The taxi driver stood there in despair, staring at the ceiling, then at the walls, searching for a way out. Suddenly, a look of firm determination came over his face. "Doctor," he said, "please save her life. Here are the papers to my taxi. Take them as guarantee. I'm going to sell it right now and bring the money." He turned and left quickly. The doctor immediately began emergency treatment. A short while later, the taxi driver returned with two well-dressed young men. "Doctor," he announced, "I've sold my taxi. Don't worry about the payment anymore." One of the young men, who had been listening to the whole story, asked in surprise, "Who is this woman to you?" With tears in his eyes, the old driver replied, "I have no idea who she is, but there must be some connection. Her life suddenly felt more important to me than my own livelihood. I can always rent another taxi and keep working. But if this mother dies today, these two children will die a slow death inside. And on the day of judgment, how will I face God if I valued my taxi more than a human life?" The two young businessmen were deeply moved. They looked at each other, then at the old driver. One of them placed a hand on his shoulder and said warmly, "Keep your taxi, sir. We are not taking it, and we will pay the full cost of her treatment." The driver was stunned. "But the deal was already made." The young men smiled and said together, "We came here to buy a taxi and make a big profit. But today we have earned something far more valuable, a beautiful good deed. Consider this our contribution to saving a life." They placed a thick bundle of cash on the doctor's table, handed him their card, and walked out. As they left, the old taxi driver broke down in tears. He whispered with a trembling voice, "God didn't accept my taxi as a sacrifice, but He accepted my intention. These kind men took away the reward of my good deed. I remain poor, but my heart feels richer than ever." Ladies and gentlemen, this is the true meaning of humanity, when a stranger's life becomes more important than your own comfort.